Hello, movie lovers. Thank you for coming. I just want to acknowledge that we are on unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I give my respect to elders past, present, and emerging. So tonight we're going to show my film On, then we're going to move to Kidnappers without a break because we'll run into them. Afterwards we're going to have a Q&A. And after that, if anyone's interested, we'll meet at Barton Fink's for a drink or whatever. And I want to thank Bill Masulis for programming, or letting me program tonight. I think the films work really interestingly together, and we will talk about that more in the Q&A. The Q&A is going to be moderated by Leon O'Regan, which we're... of X film. Should be good. Enjoy.
Thanks everyone. My name's Leon. I run a label called X Film. Graham Osborne and Colin Hodson. You guys got an amazing history connecting in New York and then reconnecting years later, and then by complete chance having both become filmmakers. How did this all come around? How did you guys reconnect? What led you to New York? What was your experiences, and what were the, major key points that led you to become filmmakers?
Well, that's a pretty big, complex question.
We'll start at complex. We'll get easier as it goes.
What's the question?
Let's ease back then. Let's keep it simple. How did you guys meet?
We were both kind of living on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. I'd see you at gigs and stuff, and then I realised you were a Kiwi.
Right.
And I guess we kind of got on quite well.
I don't actually remember how we met or when.
But I thought in a funny way that the Kiwis that are there for a reason. They've escaped the antipathy and weights that come down.
Yeah. I was compelled to get out of there, I guess, and try to find somewhere where I felt more comfortable, maybe.
Yeah, New York, I did think, felt a lot more accepting, but it was also very edgy as well. Yeah. And obviously On is actually filmed in New Zealand, but the whole circle of characters in that were the people in the milieu we knew in New York. And you didn't die because you're here, but that was your character, so it did start bending the truth.
Not really my character.
No, because you're not like that.
Yeah.
Greg King, who played you, just made it his own. He didn't have any model to base it on.
Yeah. When I first saw that, I thought, is that really me? But
no,
you
not
clarified
like
that. No,
yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Cool.
What do you guys feel when you watch these films now? I mean, it's such a long period of time since these were made, and do they remind you of points in your life where you think, holy shit, my state of mind was at the bottom, or there's a feeling there that, wow, this is like looking at someone else's work, or there's a sense of time that's expired that, is accounted for with these films, but how do you feel about them now?
Yeah. Colin's film really brings back that sort of New York experience for me. Moving in a circle of people that were living in a kind of a dangerous kind of way. Yeah, at the time. It got pretty hairy, I guess. Yeah.
I was just interested that, not the experience, but watching the movie, how often everyone in my one was shooting up, and it shocked me to see how much that was happening in the movie. But obviously when I was making it, it didn't occur to me, so that's interesting. 20 years ago now, we filmed it. By the way, the DOP and producer, one of the producers, Campbell Walker, is here, and the woman in the van. You can clap for Grace as well. So they're both living in Melbourne now too. Yeah.
And when you finish these films, what was the lifespan? What was the trajectory? Where did they go? Where did they screen? Who saw them? What was the reaction of people that saw these?
This movie used to be called Off, and it was actually longer, and I made it as a response to the criticism from my first film, so I'd over-explain stuff. And a few years later, I thought I'll just shorten it and make it tighter. But it did play in the New Zealand Film Festival. It was an okay response. And then I screened a shortened version in Amsterdam in 2006, and that went down really well. And,
my film's never been shown before, so it was good to see it on a big screen with, the sound edit was a bit rough. I didn't really get to finish that before I kind of lost access to the main file, but it's great to see it on a big screen, and thank you for showing it. It's fun to watch.
And both shot on DV, right?
Mini
Digitally.
DV tape,
Yeah.
That format now looks like what 16mm looked like back then. Like, it's amazing. I think it's got such a great feel to it, DV. It's really cool.
Yeah.
What I love about these is the sense of realism and also the editing of both of these. They both just really capture an atmosphere really, really well. Details like, in On, the boot doesn't close properly. Someone bumps a cable. There's surfaces that are dirty. All these tiny little things, like, and in The Kidnappers, there's things like the reflection of things going past in a vehicle, the way water just hits at a certain time of day. All these little things just add to an atmosphere that you don't really get with a more polished or mainstream production. Are these intentional things that you think you want to just include, or that you think were there to create this atmosphere, or do you think it just sort of happened because you guys are both from an art background and that's the device you were going to use anyway?
Yeah, well, for me, I've been working in New Zealand for a documentary company, so I was used to basically seeing and making stories out of footage, which was a camera just following people around, so maybe I got used to that. I could make a story out of that, and you don't need to dress the set or whatever. And if you just have a camera and sound person, you're really nimble and you can move quickly if you just let things be and as they unfold. That's how it worked for me.
Yeah, and for me, we were just two of us driving around in a car a lot around the Blue Mountains and looking for kind of dreamlike, maybe hallucinatory type images that might suggest someone who was high on an opiate, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I don't know if it was intentional, but you got some nice shots, like when you go into the house and the guy's asleep on the chair, that your feet are reflected in the window of the fireplace.
Right,
that to me is beautiful
Good
and
details,
amazing framing.
And that great shot of the man backing his vehicle in, and he looks over and he's like, I don't like the look of this.
Yeah.
I don't like the look of this character. I'm going to go lock my door. Like, it's so perfect.
Yeah, that just happened. That was some guy who turned up at the supermarket who didn't like the look of what was going on. Yeah.
I also love how he's like a very evocative of 20 years ago. Like, you get to see the style of vehicles, everything there. It's like, at the time when you're living this, you don't really think it's a new era or anything, but they're definitely locked in a sort of time. Like, seeing a sign for an internet cafe, I don't know when I last saw that. I saw a Civic video in The Kidnappers. All these things sort of lock into a place and time. And of course, Graham, there's the little boy in the Spider-Man shirt, which is like canonized as the abduction of William Tyrrell, and you've got it here by complete accident 3 or 4 years before it took place.
That never occurred to me until you mentioned it.
That's me. I've cursed it now. Sorry.
Yeah, I never thought of that until you mentioned it as well.
No one else did? Yeah, there we go. See.
One
Thanks.
one thing both films have, like people using payphones. You
Yes.
just-
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The disposable camera. You know.
Oh, yeah. So I guess the stories we tell are always determined by the technology that's available, and nowadays the cell phones would have stopped that kind of, I don't know, part of the story.
Yeah, I used a kind of a fairly heavy Panasonic, I think it was an HVX 200, which was sort of sitting on the ledge of the passenger seat window, sitting on a towel for stabilization. I'm just holding it with my left hand while it was pointed at, the two characters inside, kind of. That was quite challenging, holding it.
It was just the two of you for the whole movie making that.
Yeah. And Charlie, in the scenes he needed to be in.
How did you get him to cry so realistically?
Yeah, we recorded that a few days earlier around his bath time.
There's something about a child in turmoil like that just it makes an audience uncomfortable. Like it's just so it gets under your skin in such an amazing way.
Yeah, it's quite a raw kind of pain, isn't it? Yeah.
And yeah, Graham, I have to mention The Real Traitors, which my eyes bugged out when I saw, and I realised who made this film and who was in it as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised that anyone has ever heard of that band, but yeah, I used a little of the music from that band that I used to be in, yeah.
It's a cult Sydney noise sort of thing
kind of
from
thing.
the early
Yeah.
80s, yeah.
Yeah. Just a brief little clip.
But you both knew a lot of people from around the music scene and everything, with in New Zealand and Australia and New York, right?
Well, a lot of the Kiwis and
Yeah.
Australians were all there, which is probably how we all congregated, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, we both knew Hamish Kilgour from The Clean. Yeah, he was a kind of a mutual friend of ours.
Stuart Gray, a bunch of others.
Yeah, and the guy, Paul Frees, who wrote the Kidnappers script, made a film that had Colin and I in it, so...
And take me from the Andy Warhol factory.
Right,
We shot
yeah.
it in your apartment.
The
Yeah.
poet, yeah.
Where can we see this?
That's still in editing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you
So-
have to ask Paul Frees, actually.
We'll get his number.
He wasn't happy with the final result. I think he's still working on
Ah, okay.
it.
Never released.
There are parts of it that you can see. Yeah, on YouTube, I think.
Make him finish it.
Yeah, I'd like him to.
You tell him a film festival in Melbourne wants to screen it.
Yeah. He's quite busy.
One thing I was thinking watching both films, why I thought they were similar, there's this attention to the inner city detail that you see, little backs of shops, wasted rubbish, although you do get out of the city in the end, but I thought that was kind of interesting. We're filming the same kind of environments.
Yeah, I love how both films just go into the public and just steal those shots, you know.
The
Yeah.
slot machine thing was
Oh, that's
funny.
great. The
Wow.
transition into the Pokies Lounge, where it's
yeah.
at always midnight.
We got chased out of there. And then George, who was playing the guy in the purple shirt, kind of almost quit on the spot because we hadn't asked for permission. But we got the shots.
You got the shot, it's important.
Yeah.
That's how we got all those shots.
Yeah, we just shot.
Yeah, little stuff. You don't know what you're going to shoot till
Yeah.
you just go in and find it.
Yeah, we kept the camera running.
Shots
Yeah.
planned. Everything was just like, we're at a space, let's use it, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just rolling and getting a lot of footage, but then knowing how to sift through it, it takes a bit of patience. But you will find sort of magic and rhythm in it. And you've got that with the classical music on the radio that just popped up. But I thought that was really nice.
Yeah. There's no permission for using that.
I also really love how that radio is not perfectly tuned. There's just that little bit of clipping on the high end. That's perfect because that's how that's how they always sound. They're never perfect.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
And all the methods you use to shoot all this in terms of this basic free form narrative. Talk a little bit about that. Like what sort of How were you instructing, these actors to get what you wanted out of the scene? You knew he had like specific things you wanted to happen, but the dialogue and everything was, I believe, largely improvised.
Yeah. I think I had mapped out every scene in the that I wanted to shoot, and then I'd just give the actors an objective. I thought that my actors did amazing improvisation. Greg King and Helena were just really wonderful, actually. She was a musician. Greg is actually a filmmaker as well, and so was George, who's the older guy in it. But maybe we just left them to their devices, and if they just react off me or her or anyone, then it's fine. It's organic. Sometimes I would have to stop the shots and go, I need you to say you're going to leave now. Like, just can't keep going on talking. Like, say you're going to get out of the kitchen. So I had to make that happen a few times.
Yeah, and Billy and I improvised everything as well and just kept the camera running. And Paul Frees, who wrote the screenplay, we used that as a kind of a narrative outline. And yeah, just improvised everything, really. In line with that narrative, yeah.
And were there moments where you thought like, oh, holy shit, this is like getting too close to the bone, like this is a bit hairy, what am I capturing?
In terms of like content or something?
The content or the improvised dialogue, the atmospheres in these places you were shooting?
Yeah, I don't remember thinking that. I was just hoping I had something that was entertaining. I'm actually more shocked looking at it now. I'm like, holy shit, I present that to the world. Like, wow, that's interesting. Yeah. But maybe, we explore those stories because we're trying to make sense of them, I think. With my one, with Graham's character dying, I was like, in my mind going, what would I do if that happened? You can see my character has flashbacks, so feels something, but also I think the junkie kind of drive is about survival, so you make sense of that. But I also wondered, would I be curious enough to go and take a photo of someone? Oh, and then I have a memory of my friend. Because maybe I don't have any other pictures of him.
Yeah, those cameras were good. I remember buying a lot of them.
Expensive to develop though, I remember.
Yeah, a lot
You
of...
had to wait a while too, yeah. Like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I took a lot of photos on those, and often I couldn't afford to get them developed, so I don't know where they are now, which is
Still
a bit
in a
sad.
share house fridge somewhere in New York.
Yeah. Somewhere, maybe someone will have developed them.
Throw it over to the floor if anyone's got questions for Graham and Colin. Or has everything been revealed on the screen tonight? This gentleman.
The claustrophobia, that car and that flat, it's just like I just wanted to get out of there all the time. That was really powerful, those sort of contained sort of spaces.
Because I was making that film in New Zealand, but it was based on a New York story. I was doing my best not to signal New Zealand at all. And so all I wanted was just an urban inner city space. But where we shot was actually the documentary offices of a left-wing production company who lent us the space, Vanguard Films. But yeah, I wanted to remove all the air.
I'll make my way up there soon.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
I'm just curious with the improvisation and the camera work, which I loved. I'm talking Colin's film at this point. How many times you reshot a scene, and what you did with that on the editing floor? I was just kind of really entranced by the momentum of all of the scenes. But I was thinking about how it was put together, so I'm very curious.
Oh yeah, Campbell who shot it constantly.
So we would shoot between 1 and 5 or 6 takes generally, but what are you from shooting Colin's previous feature, Shifter, is that I could give Colin any old rubbish and he's a really fucking excellent editor and he could turn it into something decent. So we weren't trying to do that, but we would get, like, working in those claustrophobic spaces, I had room to swing around to follow things that happened and trust that he would turn it into something coherent. So I could just, like, follow movements. So we would follow quite disparate scenes a lot of the time. Like, we'd do takes, angles. I was running around the room at times too, and being very static at others, and just try to record the movements of performers above anything else. And that was, for me, as the cinematographer, what's most important. Thinking a lot about things like the Dardenne brothers at that point, how to use a handheld camera, how to capture things in tight, dark spaces and things like that. And that was very specifically what I was doing then. And then Colin would take that and turn it into several different narratives.
Yeah, I think you had a bigger film knowledge and background. I'd come from the performance stuff in New York, which was about live performing, and a lot of those performers from that era performed in their own works, which I think is why I'm in them myself. Yeah. But maybe the dogma thing was informing us a bit.
That was with Shift to War. By then we'd moved on.
Mhm.
We certainly had.
Who was next up here?
Hi, Graham.
Hi.
How did you shoot that headlight scene at the start? And Colin, did you really mix your heroin in stubby lids?
There were quite a few headlight scenes.
The beginning one, maybe.
At the beginning. It's very long.
Yeah,
It's
quite.
like 3 minutes of, headlights. Very black outside.
Camera on the dashboard, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, that. Yeah. That's just holding the camera and it's shaking and just trying to get a little bit of opiate sort of rhythm happening. Maybe a bit of nodding off, that kind of thing.
Not while you're driving, of course.
No, of course not.
The sound on that's great. Those lights come and then it goes.
Yeah, I love that sound. Yeah, that's just rolling down the window and getting. The sound was kind of weird here, and it is weird. It's a little bit sort of ragged, but yeah.
With my own, I had some money so I could get it, I guess, professionally mixed. Whereas you did everything on your own.
Yeah, we didn't have any money, but you don't. I mean, we had a camera. That was good, and yeah, a lot of enthusiasm, I think.
And maybe that's the political act of making movies without needing funding or whatever. Which I'm doing right now.
A compulsion, perhaps, to make something. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Graham, Colin, fantastic films. I love them both.
Thank you.
At the end of the Q&A, I guess you've answered some of the questions, but I'd like to know, have you had any formal training in acting or filmmaking before you got into making these films?
Not me, no. I mean,
Colin?
I sort of acted in a few little films in New York and thought, I was enjoying it and wanted to continue when I left New York. I got to Australia and felt there was a little bit of a kind of a, for me, there was, I didn't know anyone. It was like a cultural vacuum and I felt compelled to keep working. And I had a camera and I just thought I'll just try something. So, I ended up driving around with Billy, looking for things, yeah.
I hadn't had any training, but I did work with the Wooster Group and Richard Foreman in New York, so it's always around performance artists and stuff, so I guess I embodied what they were doing. And a lot of those people were always telling their own stories, so they were reaching into their own experience to make these things, which is really what I've done in all my films, really. Yeah.
Thanks.
Did I answer the question about the camera?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because everyone asks that. What everyone asks why do they take the photos, and that's my answer.
No more questions?
I do have another question. You were talking before about it's been 22 years.
Nice work, boys.
I'll get you another.
Bruce, keep it up. Shut up for a second, please. Up the front. What's coming up next with film work with you, Graham and Cole? It'd be nice to see more of this. That was lovely, and thank you for doing this tonight.
I was going to ask the same thing.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I am making a film, and it features Colin as the lead, and it's kind of something to do with UFOs and climate change, that kind of thing. Alien abduction, perhaps. It's maybe half done. It's still sort of working. But yeah, it's in progress.
And I'm in post now for a feature. We shot using a pinhole lens with a DOP who also is actually from New York, but I met him in Melbourne. And again, I'm basing it on experiences of mine. And again, I reached into the community of friends to be in it, which is how we make the movies, is the people around us. Just got to do the sound for it now.
Bruce? Oh,
We're not going to interrupt you anymore.
yeah, no, sorry to interrupt my friend behind me. Colin, you were talking about it was 22 years since you did it, and then there was a period before, so it's an interesting thing. I don't know, when's the last time you saw the film? Is it
2006 when we showed it in Amsterdam.
Yeah, so
and I didn't look at it until I got a new print, so I saw it a few nights ago.
So it's a huge difference, but I'm wondering how long is it before you had the experiences in the film, or you were living in New York and then you made the film in New Zealand?
About 5 years.
5 years.
Mm.
Okay, interesting. That's all.
No further questions?
Oh, there's one.
Further question?
Unless everyone wants to go home. Hi, maybe one of a more personal nature, but you left out a bit of how it was that you reconnected, because I understood that you knew each other in New York and then sort of split up and then both took up filmmaking, and I imagine there must be a good anecdote there somewhere.
A friend of mine was going to New York to do a residency, and she said she knew Hamish, Kilgore and Lisa, his partner at the time. This is kind of before the internet really got going, and I said, oh, can you ask them if they're friends with Graham or what's happening? And so that's either Lisa or Hamish gave the email address.
Oh, okay, yeah. What year would that have been, I wonder? I was still there then. Did you come back?
No.
Yeah. You came back briefly, right?
Yeah, well, in the movie I come back and I did that a few times and just kind of jumped into the same old scene.
Right. So that really doesn't answer your question.
No, it's still interesting though.
Oh, it doesn't answer it. Okay.
Oh, it was around the reconnection in Australia, but it's...
I don't know, I just kept bugging you because I thought there was more in our life thing together to explore. Because it's great to connect with you after all of that and you still get on.
We physically reconnected in Melbourne. I happened to be here and I knew Colin was here and we arranged to meet. We hadn't seen each other for maybe, I don't know, like 20 years or something. And and we instantly reconnected, and it was like, you know, we'd seen each other yesterday. It was, yeah, it was.
But in that gap, we both schooled ourselves with all the same filmmakers, Claire Denis and Chantal Ackerman and stuff, Pichapong Weerasethakul. It was like, how can we have developed the same film grammar? I thought that was quite a major coincidence.
Yeah, because I don't remember talking about film with you that much in New York when we
I wasn't interested in it then.
We had other kind of things to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I only got into film because I thought I'm so far away now once I was back in New Zealand that no one will come to the live shows. But I can send a videotape overseas, so film became a way of reaching out back into the world.
We've got time for one more question if anyone's got one. Yeah. Linton again?
Yeah, when's the next film screening? Like, are you going to play Comfortable Uncomfortable at some point?
We could, yeah, I'm sure that's a possibility. Immigrant films.
Cool.
We're going to go to, if anyone wants, have a drink at Barton Fink after this, if you want
Come to Barton
to
Fink.
hang out.
More questions. Thanks so much, guys, for these great films. I love the grittiness of them. They're just the style of film we need to see more of. And thanks to Bill for Unknown Pleasures as well.
Cheers.